Hi guys, Mark Dawes, NFPS Limited here, and this is just a quick short video. It's a response to an email question that we've been sent in, which I think will be a benefit to many of you in terms of the fact that you've probably got similar questions going on in your own minds as well. So what I've done is I'll read you the question we've had sent in, and I'll give you the answer stated clearly and directly from the regulations themselves. And the question that I was asked goes as follows. It says, "Dear Mark, can I just clarify something? If a company such as mine is a provider as a type of agency, so in other words, they do not have their own employees that they employ directly, but they have people on their books, like bank and agency staff that they send out to other organisations, is it my responsibility as the company owner to provide the duty of care raised under the Health and Safety at Work Act and the associated regulations, or is it the responsibility of the venue management of the particular venue that we're sending staff to?" Well, the answer to that can be found clearly and directly in the Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999. Now, under Regulation 9 of those regulations, it states, and I'm going to read it for you here, that every employer shall ensure that any necessary contracts with external services are arranged, particularly as regards first aid, emergency medical care and rescue work. In the approved code of practice that goes with that regulation, it says that employers should establish procedures for any worker to follow if situations presenting serious and imminent danger were to arise, for example, public disorder. They should also have had training to bring an emergency event under control, and appropriate and preventative and protective measures should also be in place. These procedures should also be written down, setting out the limits of the action to be taken by the employees are made available to all employees. It also states in Regulation 9 that there may be certain groups of workers who will be expected to act in exceptional circumstances. For example, and it gives the example here of police officers, where, for example, human life is at risk, and where such circumstances can be anticipated, procedures should be set out and special protective measures taken, and the steps to be taken for authorization of such actions. So what it's saying here is that if we provide staff to another organisation, and those staff are there specifically to deal with emergency situations, so security staff, door supervisors, people who are trained to use control and restraint or physical intervention, then when we provide those staff to that agent, to that other organisation, what they would refer to as the host employer, that host employer becomes directly responsible for their health and safety under Section 3 of the Health and Safety at Work Act, and they need to ensure that they have all the skills and competencies and the training to do what it is that they're being employed to do. Also, they have to have clear procedures and protocols set down and laid out that those employees, be they self-employed, voluntary, bank staff, have to follow. The regulations also go further, and Regulation 12, which is persons working in host employers or self-employed persons undertakings, states the following. It states that the risk assessment carried out under Section 3 of the Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999 will have identified risk to people other than the host employer's employees. This, of course, will include self-employed people, contractors, and even voluntary workers. Now, the host employer, just for clarification, is the person who is buying in the service. That's the host employer, and they have a clear duty to not only their own employees, but to employees that are working on a subcontracted voluntary basis. It also goes on to state under Regulation 12 that the host employer must ensure that all employees carrying out work on their premises receive relevant information. So not just information, but information that's relevant to what they need to do. This can be done by either providing them with the information directly, or in ensuring that their employers, so the agency or the bank staff or the subcontractor providing the employees, provides them with the relevant information. If it is the latter, so the bank staff, agency staff providing the employees, for example, then as the host employer, you have to ensure that you carry out adequate checks to make sure that the correct information has been passed on. The information, which may also include training, should be sufficient enough to allow the employer of the visiting employee to comply with their statutory duties. So that's quite clearly what the regulations say. And in short order drill, what these regulations are saying is look, you can't, if you like, do away with health and safety by means of a contract. So you can't say, well, the risk is too great for our staff, so we'll employ self-employed people to take those risks for us. You can't do that. What it means is whoever you employ, whether they're on a permanent basis, a voluntary, a subcontracted basis, or even on a charitable basis, those people will be treated as employees with regards to health and safety, and they come under Section 3 of the Health and Safety Work Act. So you can't get around the whole issue of health and safety by subcontracting. So this raises a lot of questions, and this is something we're going to be covering in more depth on our risk assessment course, particularly when we go into the areas of violence at work and how to manage violence at work situations. We're going to get into other areas as well, like lone working, but these are things I'll come back to you on a bit later on. But Pete, thanks ever so much for sending the question in, and if any of you have any other questions out there, please email them in to me, and we'll share them with you. We'll respond to you, of course, and we'll share them, if we may, with other people out there. So I genuinely hope that helps, and guys, girls, if you have any questions, please email me, get back to me at your leisure. Thanks ever so much.